Tell me, David, do you ever feel as though your life is a grand comedy, orchestrated by a director who waits for your most profoundly suave moment just to pull the strings of pure farce?
Not only pulling strings, but paying the screenwriters a handsome fortune. The very days I step out in impeccable attire, attempting to exude pure sophistication, the script inevitably devolves into a slapstick pantomime.
Precisely. Just the other day, I adorned myself in a breathtaking outfit, sweeping into a cafe with the majestic aura of a leading lady in a Korean drama.
And then what? Did our heroine gracefully collapse into the arms of her leading man?
Heavens, no! The heroine smashed her face squarely against the glass. The sign explicitly said pull, yet I channeled the entirety of my mortal strength to push. The entire cafe turned to gaze at me as if they were witnessing a complimentary masterclass on how to operate a door.
Well, at the very least, you secured your 3 seconds of absolute stardom, albeit a profoundly ridiculous kind of stardom.
That is a brand of stardom I would graciously decline.
That's nothing. The other day, I spotted someone in the distance, waving and beaming a radiant smile in my direction.
An acquaintance of yours?
So I thought. Thus, I raised both hands, waving back with a smile even more luminous than theirs. Little did I know, they were summoning the colossal gentleman standing directly behind me.
Good heavens! The sheer humiliation! How did you ever recover from that?
I feigned a sudden urge to rotate my wrists, casually morphing it into a full-body stretch. Then, I strolled onward, as if that devastating illusion had never occurred.
Ha ha! The human brain truly is an absolute genius when it comes to the desperate salvage of one's dignity.
If salvation is out of reach, one must at least deliver a stellar performance to the bitter end.
Yet, sometimes the brain stages a sudden and unannounced strike. Once, while ordering a beverage, the barista asked with utmost politeness, "Will you be having this here, or to go, miss?"
A perfectly ordinary inquiry.
But at that exact moment, my mind was utterly consumed by what to have for dinner, so I responded with unshakable confidence, "Yes, I will."
Haha, does yes, I will imply staying in or taking away?
We locked eyes in a petrified stare for exactly 5 seconds. Those 5 seconds felt as agonizingly long as an entire academic semester. Only then did I snap back to reality to correct my blunder.
I absolutely adore those moments when the brain departs on a tropical vacation, yet the mouth continues its vigorous labor.
It is as if my brain and my mouth have signed contracts with two entirely different corporations.
Exactly. Do you often find yourself calling people by the wrong name?
Indeed, I do, though I dare say my blunders pale in comparison to yours.
Just the other day, I addressed the delivery driver by the name of my high school homeroom teacher.
How on earth did those two entirely unrelated figures cross paths in your mind?
I have no idea. My memory drive must have initiated an automatic data shuffle. The poor driver looked utterly bewildered before replying. Well, I'm younger than you, so just calling me the delivery guy is perfectly fine.
Oh, how remarkably endearing.
Endearing? At that precise moment, my only desire was to evaporate from the face of the earth.
I've come to the realization that the harder I try to maintain composure and an elegant facade, the more the universe revels in testing me.
Spot on. For instance, those moments when you attempt to take a sip of water with sheer aristocratic grace.
And as a result, the water ventures down the wrong pipe.
Precisely. The water surged up my nose, but desperate to preserve my dignity, I found myself violently choking while forcing a remarkably gentle smile.
A classic case of, I am perfectly fine, my lungs simply felt the urge to perform a brief musical number, right?
You couldn't be more accurate.
As for me, I was once strutting down the pavement with absolute invincibility.
And then fell into a trap?
I tripped over absolute thin air. Let me emphasize, there was not a single stone or obstacle in sight.
The atmosphere has become quite perilous these days, hasn't it?
I assume my left and right foot simply failed to negotiate their coordination. I even spun around to glare at the pavement with profound suspicion. as if an invisible phantom had just swept my leg.
The retrospective glare at the ground is the quintessential maneuver to salvage one's ego. I once intimately patted a complete stranger on the shoulder from behind.
Oh, and when they turned around?
A completely alien visage stared back at me. I froze in sheer terror for a second before blurting out, "Oh, my apologies. You are a dead ringer for my best friend."
Did they actually buy it?
I have no idea, for I had already bolted away faster than the speed of thought itself.
Life is truly a boundless theater of scenarios no textbook could ever prepare us for.
Because if such a manual existed, the author would be forced to publish a brand new chapter every single day.
But the irony is that these moments, which make you want the earth to swallow you whole as they unfold,
Transform into the perfect conversational gifts for friends barely a week later.
a year later, they blossom into cherished memories, and a decade down the line, they stand as irrefutable proof that we lived a wildly passionate youth.
I believe those who laugh the loudest are precisely those who have, on countless occasions, lost their face entirely.
Because they understand that if they do not laugh at their own utter foolishness, the only alternative is to sit and weep.
And the true beauty of it all is that the very incidents that bring us the most searing embarrassment are exactly what bring our friends the most intoxicating joy.
And eventually, we find ourselves laughing along. Life, though far from perfect.
Undeniably possesses a masterful sense of humor.
So, if something utterly absurd happens to transpire today,
Just consider it the universe graciously providing fresh material for our next coffee rendezvous.
impeccable logic! Now, let us drink our coffee.
Yes, though this time I must verify whether the lid has actually been removed first.
You once attempted to drink coffee through a completely sealed plastic lid, didn't you? The sheer guilt on your face reveals everything.
Might I humbly request a change of subject?
Not a chance in this lifetime.
I knew it.
Listen, David, have you ever noticed? The older we get, the more our childhood resembles a farcical comedy, with the slight caveat that we are the absolute punchlines.
Astonishingly accurate. In my youth, I carried the unshakable confidence that I was a latent genius.
And what of your revelations today?
Today, I realize, back then, I possessed zero discernible talent, armed only with an intoxicating surplus of audacity.
Those two concepts reside in entirely different universes, mind you.
Just listen to this tale and you'll understand. Once, I read a story that proclaimed, "As you sow, so shall you reap." Thus, a brilliant epiphany struck me, and I decided to plant popcorn kernels into the earth.
Good heavens! Do not tell me you ventured out to water them every single day?
Religiously, for 2 consecutive weeks. By the dawn of the 3rd week, not a single sprout had emerged, only a formidable army of ants marching in to devour the entire harvest.
Ha ha! Childhood is truly the sacred sanctuary where the most magnificent and deranged ideas are given a fighting chance.
I also once accidentally swallowed a watermelon seed, only to sit clutching my stomach in paralyzing dread for an entire afternoon.
Terrified that a lush watermelon vine would take root in your belly?
Not merely terrified of the vine, I was genuinely horrified that by summer, a flock of birds might fly into my stomach to build their nests.
A child's imagination is truly a realm of absolute infinity.
And what of the valiant heroine Sophia? Did you forge any legendary conquests in your youth?
But of course! I was utterly mesmerized by superheroes. I would strap a bath towel around my neck as a cape, ascend a stool, and roar to the heavens. Superman strikes! I am taking flight!
And the relentless law of gravity delivered a profound lecture?
It bestowed upon me a wildly persuasive lesson accompanied by a permanent birthmark of bruised glory upon my knee.
I was equally ambitious. I once crawled inside a cardboard box, anointed it as a Formula One supercar, and commanded my little cousin to drag me furiously across the courtyard.
And how did that marvel of engineering perform?
While soaring at breakneck velocity, my cousin abruptly abandoned the tow line. The vehicle halted in a violent jerk, whilst I was launched into the atmosphere, tumbling through the air like a true cinematic stuntman.
the very essence of a childhood steeped in spectacular casualties. The antics we deemed thrilling back then must have bestowed relentless migraines upon our parents.
Such as which particular endeavor?
The grand excavation for buried treasure. My sibling and I absolutely ravaged an entire corner of my grandmother's garden.
And did you unearth any breathtaking heritage?
Without a doubt, we excavated a solitary plastic sandal that had been interred the previous year. I solemnly declared it an ancient prehistoric artifact.
And your sibling swallowed this grand revelation?
Hook, line, and sinker. The two of us embraced that decaying sandal, cheering wildly like the most triumphant of archaeologists.
I, on the other hand, preferred the role of the remarkably successful adult. I would borrow my father's zero prescription glasses, clutching a pristine, blank notebook while pacing the halls with an aura of catastrophic busyness.
And what multi-million-dollar enterprises were inscribed within those pages?
Not a single, solitary syllable. The paramount focus was projecting absolute superiority. The substance was a mere afterthought.
That jogs my memory. I once established a grocery emporium in our front yard, dealing exclusively in foliage, pebbles, and wild flora.
Did any prospective clientele grace your establishment?
Most certainly. The sole patron was my grandmother. She liquidated my entire inventory and settled her tab with authentic biscuits.
A massive return on investment. It is only when we mature that we realize the very first patrons of our lives are almost always our loved ones.
They purchase not for the wares, but for the sheer delight of witnessing our joy.
Looking back, it warms the soul profoundly.
And what of your academic era? Do you harbor any turbulent histories within the school walls?
A multitude. There was this instance where I meticulously crafted the title of an assignment in breathtaking, flourishing calligraphy. Only upon completion did I realize I had penned the entirely wrong subject.
Just how wrong was it?
In the midst of mathematics, I had elegantly inscribed a colossal literature across the dead center of the page. My professor stared at me for an eternity before declaring, "I highly commend your profound dedication to interdisciplinary studies."
Haha, your professor was quite the comedian. My saga, however, is far more tragic. I once volunteered, surging with absolute confidence, to solve a problem on the blackboard.
And only upon reaching the board did you realize your mind had gone entirely blank?
No! I had confidently marched into the wrong classroom.
What? How does one simply march into the wrong classroom?
I had wandered blissfully into the adjacent room without a shred of awareness. The entire class and their bewildered teacher gazed upon me as if I were a celestial guest dropping from the heavens.
Good God, I imagine you wished for an immediate cloaking device to vanish into the ether?
I bowed in profound apology and fled with such ferocious velocity I was practically shattering Olympic track records.
The peculiar thing is, those very moments that once burned our faces with deep crimson shame
now force an uncontrollable burst of laughter from anyone who hears them.
Were you granted a golden ticket back to your childhood, is there a single thread of fate you would alter?
Absolutely not, because those exact moments of unparalleled foolishness are what forged a childhood of magnificent singularity.
Imperfect, perhaps, but spectacularly unforgettable.
And thanks to that turbulent history, we now possess a bottomless vault of comedic tales to trade over coffee.
Provided, of course, that people are laughing with us.
And most certainly not us.
In reality, it is usually an exquisite blend of both.
That is slightly heartbreaking, yet undeniably true.
But in the end, our youth was profoundly radiant and devoid of any mundane moments.
Say, David, have you ever observed a highly peculiar phenomenon within the culture of texting?
What specific phenomenon might that be?
With an intimate friend, unleashing 100 streams of sheer nonsense a day feels like absolute nothingness.
Precisely, but the very moment the target is a romantic interest.
Crafting a brutally brief sentence demands exactly half an hour of agonizing labor.
You type, you erase, you retype, you erase once more. Ultimately, after an hour of ferocious internal warfare, the dispatched message is a grand total of 2 words. Hi there.
Or simply a raw, terrifying hello. I once sent exactly that hello and, in a surge of sheer panic, violently retracted it an instant later.
Whatever for. Why the retraction?
Because suddenly, staring at that solitary hello, it felt as dreadfully serious as a formal summons to a parents-teacher conference.
Are you familiar with the sheer adrenaline of hurling your phone face down onto the table the second you hit send?
Intimately, feigning absolute stoicism, yet covertly flipping the device over every 5 seconds in desperation.
Not a single spark of illumination from the screen. 10 seconds later, another frantic check, followed by the paranoid inquiry. Has my home network catastrophically failed?
Whilst in stark reality, the recipient is merely engrossed in a meal or partaking in a shower.
Which is precisely why the imagination of a soul in love operates with far greater processing power than a supercomputer. A solitary period from a crush is sufficient fuel for an entire evening of obsessive analysis.
For instance, when they decree a single, devastating syllable, yeah.
Thus triggers the seismic panic. Why merely a single word? Are they engulfed in rage? Did I inadvertently utter heresy?
Meanwhile, their device is lingering on a bleak 2% battery, or simply put, they are too lethargic to type.
But within the theater of our minds, we have already successfully produced a multi-season tragic television drama.
Looking back at ancient chat logs, I discovered I employed an ungodly number of laughing emojis as a desperate shield for my awkwardness.
I, conversely, was a certified grandmaster of the ellipses, the dreaded.
To what end? To project an illusion of profound depth?
I aimed to radiate an aura of supreme calm and enigmatic mystery, yet in retrospect, I simply appeared as though I were gasping for air or entirely bereft of a coherent reply.
Speaking of utter embarrassment, I recall a legendary goodnight saga you once shared, am I right?
Oh, for the love of heaven, do not resurrect that. I had enthusiastically dispatched the message, wishing you a beautiful night's sleep.
It sounds remarkably sweet. How did it mutate into a catastrophe?
Because I egregiously misread the clock. I deployed it at precisely 7 in the evening.
7 in the evening? The poor girl had likely just finished supper and hadn't even commenced digesting her meal.
Exactly, my crush replied in sheer bewilderment. Thank you, but I haven't even taken a shower yet. How am I supposed to sleep?
That pales in comparison to my absolute masterclass in self-destruction.
What horrific history did you manage to script?
I crafted an exquisitely affectionate message for my crush. Conversing with you today was an absolute delight. Be sure to text me when you get home.
And then?
By a tragic slip of the thumb, I launched it directly into the collective chat group of my entire class.
God Almighty, the entire cohort witnessed it.
Absorbed every single syllable. The group erupted into absolute chaos, friends storming in to unleash a barrage of hysterical emojis, interrogating me. Who is this intended for, Sophia? Confess immediately.
How did you mitigate such a crisis?
I attempted a frantic extinguish with the classic line, "My deepest apologies, everyone, a mistaken send." Yet the more fiercely I justified it, the deeper their suspicions grew.
Indeed, these misdirected missives always surface at the most fatally inopportune moments. Have you ever composed an epic manifesto of a text, only to
Obliterate every last word of it? Indisputably.
For what profound reason would you delete it?
Because a revelation struck me, delivering the sentiment in person would resonate with a far purer sincerity.
And did the face-to-face encounter actually occur?
It did, but the very second I stood before their physical presence,
Every meticulously rehearsed line evaporated into the void?
not a single syllable survived. I was reduced to standing there, flashing a vacuous, foolish grin. They even inquired, "Why do you keep staring at me with that relentless smile today?"
And how on earth did you respond?
I stammered. Oh, it is nothing. The weather today is just exceptionally magnificent. A piece of dialogue so tragically absurd it defies description.
But at the end of the day, harboring feelings for someone is an experience that is both terribly comedic and breathtakingly endearing.
Indeed. A solitary vibration of the phone is enough to send tremors straight through the heart.
The mere manifestation of their name on the glowing screen compels you to instantly straighten your spine and fiercely adjust your attire.
Those devastatingly clumsy messages, the endless cycles of typing and deleting, they may be tinged with foolishness, yet they pulse with raw, unadulterated truth.
Perhaps years from now, as we unearth these ancient transcripts, we will smile at the beautiful, raw naivety of our past selves.
A toast to those agonizing texts that once set our faces ablaze with the deepest shades of crimson.
I raise my glass. A toast to the sheer, reckless courage of finally pressing the send button.
I can only pray that my next catastrophic misfire avoids the collective classroom chat.
And I passionately hope I never bestow another goodnight wish at the ungodly hour of 7 in the evening.
Life, in its grand design, sometimes ignites with the briefest of messages,
Yet forges a memory that stretches beautifully into eternity.